When a franchise dies out, it's either for the better or really in need for a return. Some stay dead, and some eventually come back. However, these 10 franchises have the odds of staying dead to be more likely than a return. Keep in mind that it's not what I don't want to return. In fact, I want a lot of these franchises to return, but they are all unlikely, like highly, really unlikely, and I can say with unfortunate confidence that these won't return. These are the top 10 dead video game franchises that won't come back. By DPX Solo. People have been clamoring for a new FZero game for a while, but Nintendo just doesn't seem to care that much about the franchise. I mean, they always put Captain Falcon in Smash, but aside from that, they don't seem to care about the franchise. Nintendo seems to be more focused on their current franchises to push the Switch, and though bringing back franchises like F-Zero would actually help, they're clearly going a different route. Plus, with Fast RMX being a spiritual successor to F-Zero, it's highly unlikely that we'll see a new installment in this franchise ever again. That isn't to say they shouldn't bring it back. They have all the reason to, at least from my perspective as a fan. It's just not going to happen. However, I'd like to be proven wrong. Nintendo is full of surprises, but they are definitely more focused on IPs like Mario and Zelda, as well as new ones. If the Virtual Console ever goes on Switch, we'll definitely see F-Zero games on the Virtual Console, but will there ever be a new F-Zero game anytime soon? No, there will not be. Alright, now I love Streets of Rage, but I know that sadly, it's never coming back. It had a game planned and actually made on the Dreamcast, but was cancelled probably because of the Dreamcast's discontinuation. Then a few years later, had a remake or remaster or something worked on for Xbox Arcade and PSN, but was also thrown into the can, and I doubt this IP will be touched again. Sega doesn't seem to be focused on much at this point, like not just this franchise, pretty much all their franchises. And that would be a reason to bring it back. Yes, kind of like how I said with F-Zero, it would be a reason to bring it back, but it didn't get a game since Streets of Rage 3, which came out in January, so the beginning of 1994. That really sucks because this was one of the most beloved Sega franchises on the Genesis, but Sega, like Nintendo with F-Zero, doesn't seem to care about this old beloved gem. However, this may not be the only Sega franchise on this list. Earthworm Jim is a franchise with one of the most requests to return, but sadly it won't happen. It ended on a bad note with Earthworm Jim 3D, which was mediocre at best and was incredibly underwhelming with a new team that really made it different in a bad way. Earthworm Jim, the flagship character, didn't even say his flagship line, groovy. He didn't even say that. Come on. Now, I can show you something that can explain it all for me. In an interview on ScrewAttack.com, like a video from the YouTube channel Screw Attack. Take a look.
A game franchise called Earthworm Jim. Okay, I did Earthworm Jim 1, we did Earthworm Jim 2, same team. Then somebody else who was not us, I need to make this straight for the camera, the original Earthworm Jim team, we did 1 and 2, did not do Earthworm Jim 3D.
Yeah, that guy right there, he didn't know about it or anything. Like some random team decided to take the IP and make a new game and completely ruin it. Sure, we got like a remake of Earthworm Jim 1 2 on like Xbox 360, and all 3 games, Earthworm Jim 1, 2, and 3D, are all separately available on Steam for $20. But are we gonna get a new one anytime soon? Maybe even ever? No. So yeah, there was another Genesis game franchise. Yeah. I believe this is less likely to return, this as in Golden Axe, is less likely to return than Streets of Rage because, hear me out, though the last time Streets of Rage got a game was in 1994, this did get a game later than that called Golden Axe Beast Rider in 2008, and man, does that game blow. They really bombed that one. Seriously, it does live up to the name Beast Rider, but riding beasts, which was actually fun, as you can see in the gameplay, in the originals, isn't in Golden Axe Beast Rider. Not to mention, really all you do in Golden Axe Beast Rider is just fight boring enemy after boring enemy, and the boring enemies are the same throughout the whole game. Meaning, just think about it this way, what if there was a Mario game, and the only enemies throughout the entire game in which all you do is fight enemies, the only enemies are the Goombas? Yeah. Also, the game was rated M, which didn't feel right. So like I said about Sega not giving a about their old franchises, this will not return. I can guarantee. I want it to, though. I'm being very cynical. Oh no, I'm not including Final Fantasy. That franchise is not allowed to die. This is Final Fantasy Tactics, as you were probably actually able to tell. Okay, maybe it shouldn't be on the list because it's more of a side franchise. But I never made that rule. So shut up. Don't take that the wrong way. Now, there was never any confirmation or anything that Tactics is dead. But we can all assume this. It's dead. Square Enix has been more focused on updating Final Fantasy 15 and has experimented with the fighting game genre as well as some others, trying another side franchise, but got a mixed reception. This could be more reason to bring back this forgotten side franchise of Final Fantasy, but Square Enix is Square Enix. It really sucks that we didn't get to see another game in Square's best Final Fantasy side franchise to date, but we're just gonna have to live with the fact that it was ignored. I'm sure you guys all expected this one. I mean, I guess you can say that Konami as a company is probably dead, but for the sake of this video, I'm only including Metal Gear Solid. This is probably one of the most obvious ones on the list, because we all know what happened, but I'll give you the rundown in case you somehow don't know what happened. So, Konami was giving Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima a lot of frustration, to the point where he ended up leaving the company, which put Konami in a very bad spot, and did not even allow him to go to the Game Awards show that year. This was a very bad move by Konami, and their probably flagship franchise is definitely over. Sure, Metal Gear Survive recently came out, but oh man, is this hated on. And rightfully so, I think. Just not the same. Not much of the game itself is that bad, though it is pretty mediocre. It's more the fact that it's not at all what people wanted from the franchise, and it didn't seem to have any love or passion put into it. It looks like it was made just to be made. Also, with the current state of Konami, of course. And even then, it's Metal Gear, but it's not Metal Gear Solid. It's not solid, both in the name and in how good the game is. Ha ha ha. And it's not under the creation of Hideo Kojima. And will we ever get another one of those? No, we will not. Okay, now I'm sure you didn't expect this one on the list, but let me speak. This is a franchise with an equal amount of people who know it and an equal amount of people that don't. This is, if you didn't know, a fighting game called Bloody Roar. Bloody Roar is a fighting game franchise that has been forgotten, criminally forgotten, and overlooked. And though it's a really awesome franchise that deserves more attention, either way, it'll not come back. Its last game was Bloody Roar 4, released in November 11th, 2003, and it came out with a mixed reception. The main reason why it won't return is because many people have forgotten about this franchise, and it ended with a mixed game, like how I just said. And the latest one was published by Konami. I think that can explain itself real easily. Konami, look, I'd like to see this forgotten gem of a fighting game franchise return, and may even appear on my Hidden Gems series, but will not have a new entry appear in the possession of gamers who want it. I think I worded that pretty well. This one might also be a surprise to some. Gex is also a forgotten franchise, but this one's not a fighter, it's a platformer. It was sort of the flagship franchise for the 3DO console, which was a complete joke and flopped hard. It then made its way on consoles like the PS1, N64, Game Boy Color, amongst others. Bleh. But people have just forgotten. However, this wasn't all that popular when it was relevant, so it probably won't be popular if it's relevant now. Not only that, Eidos Interactive, which is the company that published most of these games, has been developing games as of late rather than being a publisher. Their most recent games that they've developed being Deus Ex Mankind Divided and Thief 4. Though they can give the publishing rights to someone else, it's not like anyone is even clamoring for a return to this franchise anyways. So, I mean, they shouldn't go through all that trouble. Alright, I don't even need a script for this one. Look, you guys should have expected this one, to be honest. Duke Nukem, it's, I'm sure you guys all know at this point, but if not, I'll give you the rundown. Because then I'll get a bunch of comments saying, hey, that's not cool, you should explain why Duke Nukem's on the list, even though everyone knows, so I'm going to say. So, Duke Nukem Forever was announced, like, in 1997. It took about 15 years for it to come out, as it kept getting delayed over and over and over again, and it blew. It was pretty bad. That, like, ensures that 3D Realms, the publisher, won't be publishing a game again. They could just sell the rights of Duke Nukem to another company, but first of all, it's not that easy. Second of all, the franchise is dead. Like, if you release a game that was announced 15 years ago and was supposed to come out only a few years after it was announced, that's an automatic fail. I mean, many people were ignoring that and were just really excited for the game, and then it came out, and then they're like, oh yeah, right, this was gonna suck, and it did. So yeah. So I have to say about Duke Nukem Forever, you guys completely expected this one. I know you guys did. You clicked on, well, if you know you're like, if you guys know like your gaming facts, then when you clicked on this, you should have known Duke Nukem Forever. No, not just, really just Duke Nukem. I mean, the original games were pretty good, but Duke Nukem Forever was like a pretty bad game, and yeah, well, if I want to be 100% honest, I do not want to see this franchise return. This and Gex are kind of the only two franchises I would prefer if they just don't come back, because I don't know, they weren't. Gex gets some mixed thoughts. I kind of don't think it should return, but we're not talking about Gex, we're talking about Duke Nukem, but not anymore, because this entry is over. Alright, before we get to number one, we're gonna go over some honorable mentions that I've considered probably won't return. Half-Life, Portal, Team Fortress, Left 4 Dead, Dota. What do all these have in common? Well, you probably guessed it. They all come from Valve. And Valve, I love Valve, but they don't know how to count further than 2. I mean, all these stopped at Half-Life 2, Portal 2, Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead 2, Dota 2, and it just, like, sure, they're like other Half-Life games, like Half-Life Episode 2 or Half-Life Opposing Force. And then there's the recently released Portal Bridge Constructor. But that shouldn't be counted as a new entry. I mean, sure, it's got alright reviews. Like, I'm looking at the reviews right now. One has a 4 out of 10, one has a 9 out of 10, and one has a 4.9 out of 5. So, mixed reviews. But, I mean, it's not, whether the game's good or not, it's not Portal 3. Also, this wasn't even published by Valve, so either way. Yeah, I'm sure you guys at least all expected Half-Life. You guys should have expected Half-Life to be on this list, because we're never going to get another true entry. But I decided to include pretty much all of Valve, because like they're not even really making games anymore. There are rumors that Microsoft is going to buy Valve, and though I don't quite think that, I think Valve is doing pretty well with Steam right now. It's a possibility that they can buy some rights from Valve. And yeah, as you can tell, I'm doing this unscripted. But seriously, Valve, again, I love you as a company, but you should either continue your franchises or like at least make new games. I mean, that's not what I was gonna say, but like at least make new games. Haven't made they haven't made a new franchise in a while. But if you're not going to continue your franchises or make new franchises, give the publishing rights to other companies with your endorsement and everything. I mean, you sort of did that with Portal Bridge Constructor, but I mean, like, that's not Portal 3. So yeah. So that's it for this video. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Agree, disagree, whatever? What do you what are your thoughts on this video, I guess? And what what do you think I omitted from the list? Do you think any of these franchises will return? Or do you think I'm right with every single one of them? Do you think, like, there are other franchises that won't return that I should have included? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace!